Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you take the time to join this session, it's me again, Andre Stein, and today we'll be looking at changes in ownership, Learning Unit 6. So it's the last learning unit of the module. A little bit of good news, I'll give you the news later as well, is that this learning unit, I don't want you to stress too much about it. For FAC 3704, we will not ask a lot of marks on changes in ownership if we do ask anything here. So if it is in the exam paper, it will really not count a lot of marks. But I don't want you to leave it out. You should still know it. And but I don't want you to go and waste all your energy in changes in ownership. I think what we're going to cover today, if you know that it's sufficient, then I rather want you to do questions. As always, the classes are recorded, and the classes, the recordings will be available on my modules, the slides and the video, and I'll try tomorrow morning early to upload it if it is available. And then you can always refer back to the videos or the classes at any point in time. Okay, everything here stays the same. The module email address. I see since I've added this to the discussion classes and put a lot of emphasis on it, at least for the last couple of weeks, I received quite a number of emails and I enjoy it. So I'm still the only lecturer on the module. So announcements, I said that previously as well. So obviously, as I put the slides and other information onto the announcements, I really want to encourage you to check the announcements regularly. I experienced a little bit of a, let's call it an issue, and maybe I'm talking to the wrong crowd here. I specifically said certain things, for example, on the assignments, you know, what the number of marks is, and you know, specifically how long the assignment should take you, especially assignment 2, which is the written assignment. And there were students who submitted the assignment late. So obviously, if I told you that you've got 15 minutes to download the exam or the assignment paper, and then 1.5 hours to write, and then half an hour to upload on my exams, you only have half an hour. If that time, if you go past that time, even if it's 1 second later, you will not be able to upload. So I want you to make sure you first of all read the announcements properly. If anything is unclear, please ask. In the exam, it's going to be the same thing. There's going to be a certain time for you to download the paper, certain time to write the paper, and then a certain time to upload. And it's your responsibility to upload before that due date. In the exams, we will not mark a script that's late. We will not mark any emailed scripts. Okay, and the first thing, or the most important thing, is to upload it on the My Exams folder or the My Exams site, and then afterwards on the Invigilator app. So please make sure you read properly in the exam when it is that you need to start uploading your paper on the My Exams site. Okay, and make sure you upload the correct document. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the exam is close. Okay, so there's not a lot of time left. I'm not sure if you've received the provisional dates yet. I don't think you would have received it. I'm not going to go into that detail now, but the exam is not far from now. You should check your timetable regularly, and I really want you to from now on, do only questions from tutorial letter 102 and 103, and look at examples or questions in the slides that I've provided to you. And then as you do these exercises, you should yourself identify which areas or sections is it that you do not know, so that you can go back to the study guide or even to the slides or to questions to that specific things that it is that you do not understand. Because it doesn't help if there's something that we know, let's say it's 5 things you need to do, 3 of them you can do good, and you know by 100%, and then the 2 things that you don't know, you don't focus on that, but you don't focus the whole time on things that you already know. So this is now the time where I want you to do questions. Start identifying what it is that you do not know. If you really struggle with associates, work on that. If you struggle and you don't understand when is something a gain on bargain purchase or goodwill, the time is now to focus on that. If you don't understand what non-controlling interest is, do that. I'm not saying just that, but put more energy or more focus on that, because you need to make sure that you have a basic understanding at least of everything that is in the study guide of the whole module. Okay. Changes in ownership. I already said that the marks in FAC 3704 going forward will not be a lot. Okay. So if we ask something of learning unit 6, maybe 5 marks, but I don't want to put a number on it, but I really guarantee you, if you just understand what I say today and maybe look at one question and just have a basic understanding of it, you should be fine. Okay. So again, don't go and spend 2 weeks on changes in ownership. Rather get 1 day, get the basics, and do questions from 102 and 103, especially tutorial letter 103, and look at the things, as I said, that you don't understand. And ask. I'm here. If you struggle with something, you send me an email and you say to me, Andre, I'm doing this question in tutorial letter 103. I'm busy looking at the goodwill calculation C1 or whatever the case may be. I don't understand why you brought in this amount, or I don't understand this part of the calculation, or I don't understand this part of the disclosure, and then I can help you. Okay. So there's 4 examinable scenarios of changes in ownership. So the first one is the acquisition of an additional interest in a subsidiary. In other words, it's already a subsidiary. So me as a parent bought 60% shares in your company. Okay. And let's say control was in place. So for all the examples I'm going to do when we refer to subsidiary, you can assume there's control. Okay. It doesn't matter what the shareholding percentage is. Remember, because I said in previous classes, especially learning unit 1 and 2, it doesn't necessarily mean when there's 50% shareholding, there's control. Okay, so I think we've dealt quite a lot with that. So in this example, I bought 60% of the shares in your company. There was control. You are a subsidiary. Okay, and then later on, whatever the reason might be, I decided to purchase 20% more shares. So my shares increased from 60 to 20, and the subsidiary stays a subsidiary. Okay. Second one, the acquisition of additional interest, whereby the investee becomes a subsidiary. Okay, so I bought 5% interest in your company. That's a simple investment. I do not have control. I do not have any other thing, for example, significant influence or whatever the case may be. It's a simple investment. And then later on, whatever the reason might be, I decided to buy 46% extra shares, and through that and other factors, I started to control you, and then this simple investment became a subsidiary. So that's the second one. Then the third one is where there's a partial disposal of interest in a subsidiary where control is not lost. So it's almost the same as the first example, okay? Just in this case, I don't buy extra shares, but I sell some of it. So I bought 60% of the shares in your company. I control you, you're my subsidiary, and then whatever the reasons might be, I need more money, I need someone else to get involved with certain skills in this group of ours, and I sold 8% of the shares to that specific shareholder or shareholders. Okay, so then my shares in your company reduces from 60% to 80, from 60 to 52 because I sold 8%. So that is where control is not lost. Okay, and then a partial disposal of a subsidiary where control is lost and a simple investment is retained. So that is almost again like the second example, just the the opposite. So I was the parent. I owned 60% of the shares in your company. You were the subsidiary. Okay. If you look here, I was the parent. My laser, I just want to put my laser on here. So I was the parent because I owned 60%. You were the subsidiary. But then I sold 50%. Again, doesn't matter what the reasons might be. So now I'm just sitting with 10%. I'm no longer a parent. I'm just a normal investor. And you're a normal investee. Okay, so that's the 4 examinable scenarios. Okay. So let's look at the first one, first scenario. Okay, what does IFRS tells us to do? So this is now where I acquire additional shares. You are a subsidiary. I just buy more shares. You're still a subsidiary. So IFRS says, the changes in a parent's, that's now me, ownership interest in a subsidiary, that's you, do not result in the parent losing control. Okay, so it stays a subsidiary. And that is referred to as equity transactions. Okay, and then further, IFRS says when the proportion of the equity held by non-controlling interest, stop there. I've talked a lot in previous classes about non-controlling interest. You should know by now what non-controlling interest is. So if we just go back to the example, originally I had 60% of the shares in your company. So the other people, whether it's 1, 2, or 5 million people or companies, they own the remaining 40%. They are non-controlling interest. So let me just read this again. When the proportion of equity held by non-controlling interest changes, an entity shall adjust the carrying amounts of the controlling and non-controlling interest to reflect the changes in their relative interest in the subsidiary. The entity shall recognize directly in equity any difference between the amount by which the non-controlling interests are adjusted and the fair value of the consideration paid. Okay, and attribute it to the owners of the parent. So that amount of which the non-controlling interests are adjusted, remember if I had 60% of the shares in your company, the non-controlling interest own 40%. I know that's now a percentage. We'll look at examples later where there's amounts. But if I then buy 20% more, okay, remember that 20%, I buy it from those 40%. So that 40% will decrease. So the rand value of that 20% and whatever I've paid for it, the fair value of consideration is the amount that I've paid for it. That difference we need to account for, and you'll see later where you will put it. You will put it in a change in ownership reserve. Remember we said earlier in equity, it's an equity transaction. So that difference will be in a change in ownership reserve in equity. Okay? Remember we said that earlier. Okay? So I've just said, what is this change in ownership reserve? It's the consideration for the new shares less the portion of NCI purchased. Okay? That's now rand values. Okay? And we know how to calculate the non-controlling interest, because normally when we calculate goodwill or when we do disclosure in the statement of changes in equity or wherever it might be, we know how to calculate that non-controlling interest. So all we're going to do here is to say, okay, but up until this point, 40% amounted to whatever the rand value is. But now I buy 20% of that. Okay, remember, that's not 20% multiplied by the 40%. It's 20% of the 40%. So it's 20 of the 40. Okay, but we're going to work out what the rand value of that is, and then we're going to take the difference between that and the consideration. In other words, the amount that I've paid for it. Okay, in the first scenario, when it's the acquisition of additional interest in a subsidiary, you do not see that as a new business combination. Okay, because the business combination is already there. I'm already the parent, you're already the subsidiary. It's just the increase in shares, so there will be no additional goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. Okay. I think I said to you that, I said to you that change in ownership will not count a lot of marks. So in this session, I will cover changes in ownership, but I'll also look at normal exam things. Okay. So how do I approach an exam question? I said that before, it's really important. You read the required. You then read through the question. You then draw up the skeleton or the layout or the framework. And then you answer the required. Okay, I repeat this a lot of times because I really want you to do that and to focus on that. Okay, so let's look at the first example, required. Okay, I'm going to say a few things during this session that's maybe not even relevant to explaining changes of ownership or explaining a certain principle, but it's for you to see how we ask the stuff and then to understand how important certain principles are. Okay, as an example, question A. Remember, we just said first read the required. Calculate goodwill to be disclosed in the statement of financial position as at 30 June 2019. So now you know, this is not something I'm going to disclose in my statement of financial position. It's just a calculation. And we can sometimes ask it like this. You can do your own calculation or way you want to calculate it based on principles covered, but it must make sense to you and us. And sometimes what we'll do is we'll tell you, calculate goodwill as an example now. And we'll say, but use the following layout or the following calculation method, and then we'll give you a layout or an example, and then you need to do it exactly in that layout because we then give you a mark for that. Sometimes we'll say calculate goodwill or the gain on bargain purchase. I'm just going to interrupt myself again. What I tell you now, certain things you need to look out for, and I'll do that throughout this whole session, that you need to focus on in the exam. You need to see these differences, and you need to focus on the easy marks that I'm explaining to you that you should get. And that's not just in my module. All the accounting modules, and I'm sure a lot of these principles you can apply in your other subjects as well. Okay? We can also tell you calculate goodwill or gain on bargain purchase of this entity or of this transaction or at year end, and then we'll say and indicate clearly, it's just an example, whether it's goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. Then your calculation can't end with goodwill or gain on bargain purchase because then you ask me. Okay? So when I ask you, you need to provide me with the answer. Okay? So please make sure of that. If I say calculate, you calculate. If I say calculate goodwill or gain on bargain purchase and indicate to me, you need to indicate to me what your answer is. Because sometimes students do not know, and then they will end up with a, let's say, goodwill amount, but they don't know, is this now goodwill or gain on bargain purchase? I can't remember. And then I can't see if you understand this. Anyway, let's go on. Okay. So, in this case now, the following extracts of the trial balances. I also said to you in previous classes, we can give you the information in different ways. So what I want you to see here is, in this case, there was an investment in nut. So there's two companies here, beer and nut. Okay? Beer and nut. So beer originally purchased this shares from Nut, and this was the amount they paid. And then they purchased another 30,000 shares a few months or a year and a few months later, and this is the amount they paid, the consideration. So remember these two amounts. But what I want you to see is sometimes we can even give this to you in one sentence to say, or in one line, to say investment in Nut at cost, and we will have this total of 137,000 in here. Okay, but then in the additional information, we might have a sentence to say originally 90,000 was purchased for 90,000 shares was purchased for 97,000 Rand. Then you need to know, you need to go and calculate that 40,000. That's now just an example. Or we can say originally 90,000 was purchased. We do not give you the amount. Let's say we've given you the total now, 137,000. Then we do not give you the amount for this. But then we say later 30,000 was purchased for 40,000 Rand. And that is already included in the trial balance. Then you know the 137 includes everything. 40 of that is for this. Then you need to go and calculate the 90,000. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here, don't learn a recipe. Understand the principles. When you understand the principle and you know what we ask, you need to gather the information from the question and use that to get to what we ask from you. So we can give this information in different formats or different forms or different ways, or different stories, different scenarios. Okay? The same here. Profit for the year. Okay? In other questions, we might give you the revenue, the cost of sales, blah, 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 income tax expense, other expenses, other income. We can give you that detail. Or if we do not want to test all those principles and all those adding marks, you should know all of that. Revenue plus other income, less cost of sales, less other expenses, less income tax gives you the profit for the year figure. That you should know. So this is just let's call it a shorter format, and you'll then see where you're going to use those profits. Okay. So what I want you to see here, I think this we already discussed, but here you can see in this case, it was given here and in the trial balance on the previous page. So just check here, retained earnings at that point, 9,000. Sorry, I think I'm starting to get a little bit of a flu, so my throat's going to give me problems the whole time. Anyway, NCI in this case, remember I said in the previous classes, there's only two ways how you can measure it. It's the fair value method or the proportionate share. Okay, so in this case, the proportionate share. On the date of the business combination, Hello? Can you hear me now? Ladies and gentlemen, now you need to tell me quickly at what point did you lost the audio. Let me just see here in the chat. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue where I am at the moment. I see my my screen shows microphone issue the whole time. But I'm now not sure because now you just showed to me you can hear me, and I've just switched on my additional computer so I can hear myself. I'm going to mute that for now. Give me 1 second here, sorry. Hello? Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize about this. Now there's something else wrong as well. My mouse doesn't want to move. Oh, there it's back. Okay. So unfortunately, I did not see the comments in the chat box because my slides was open in front of me. So I'm going to continue. I'm not sure why it is because my slide's still showing I've got a microphone issue, but I've just switched on my computer and I can hear myself, but obviously I want to mute that again. So what I'll do is, can someone just in the chat tell me, can you hear me now? Okay, thanks. I saw that. So what I'll do is I'm going to continue where I've stopped, and then you need to go through the slides later on because now I'm not sure where exactly you stopped to hear me. Hopefully you followed the picture when I went through the slides. What I'll then do is if there's any question, you just send me an email. And I do apologize about that. I'm not sure what the issue is. What I'll do is every now and then I'll just go to the chat box to see if the sound is still there. So I'm just going to continue now, and hopefully everything will be fine from now going forward. Okay. Let me think, where was I last? Okay, so what I said here is we do exactly the same. Let me just maybe go back a few slides. Okay, I was explaining in all these things, just to go back. In short, I was explaining this example to say to you, when we get a question like this, prepare the statement of changes, blah, blah, blah. We do give you marks for the presentation, and that is the whole layout and certain things. And then I also said, also marks for some descriptions like changes in ownership. I can even sometimes do it for share capital. That's just examples. Okay, so you can you need to know the layouts out of your head, because there's only 3. We are going to ask it, and we do give presentation marks, and we do give marks for some of the descriptions. All right, and then I said, okay, when you get a question like this, you take the first amounts after you've written your skeleton down. That's given, that you know you just need to slot in for example, dividends by the parent and share capital by the parent, and you go and slot them in. Because in the share capital column, there will always be just that of the parent, and the same in the retained earnings column, the dividends line, also just the parent. Okay, that's what I said there. Then I said, remember to always reference in the exam, whether it's a highlight like this or a what do you call it, a C1 or a Calc A or a Calc B, whatever the case may be, so that me as a marker can easily follow this transaction, this amount. Okay, and then I said, okay, so now we said, what do we want? We want retained earnings at the beginning. Remember, that's the beginning of the year. We always take into account the information of the parent and the sub, and that was also given in the trial balances, the retained earnings at the beginning. But when you see a sub and the sub was acquired in prior years, you know that you need to do some kind of an adjustment, and we'll get to it now. The retained earnings was at acquisition 9,000 Rand. Okay, so then you need to know, okay, I take everything of the parent, 18,000, but then for the subsidiary, I take whatever is at the beginning less what was eliminated at acquisition. In other words, since acquisition up until the beginning of the current year belongs to me as a parent, and only 60%. And what I said here as well is because we have, let me just go here, because we have a retained earnings column and a non-controlling interest column, we will only include the percentage that I have in your company, for example, 60%, because the other 40% will go here. Okay, and that's different to the statement of financial position or profit or loss. There, remember, with a subsidiary, you add 100% line by line, and only at the bottom, you then take the non-controlling interest out. Okay, what I said here is then the same as non-controlling interest. I said, but remember, some of the information that was calculated already in a previous part of the question, remember to use that. So at acquisition, the NCI was calculated as 63,600 already in part A, and then we take the retained earnings movement again. So we just used the 60% in the retained earnings column, and the remaining 40% you put it in there, and there's your total. Then I said, okay, profit for the year, we've dealt with that in several other questions in the previous slides, but what I said, what I want you to see here is in this specific question, there was a change in interest. In other words, that profit, the part of the subsidiary, okay, only 60% of a certain period belonged to me or to us as a group, okay, or to me as a parent, and then in the period after that, 80%, and I say, whenever you get transactions, whether it's intercompany transactions or acquisitions or whatever the case may be, draw a timeline like this so that you make sure you've got the times or the dates at the specific points plotted out for yourself so that you know, okay, whoa, in this case, the additional shares was purchased 31st December. In other words, from July to December, it was 6 months, and then the remaining 6 months was 80%. Okay? Just one thing while I'm here. So the 90,000 shares out of the 150 that you have gives me the 60%. I've purchased 30,000 shares more, and now I'm on 80%. You can go and calculate that in your own time. All right. I said to you previously, in this case, we gave you the profit. Other times we can give you revenue, less cost of sales, blah, blah, blah. In this case, we gave you the profit. So then you need to know, okay, that's already let's call it a summed up amount. Okay. So there's that profit of the subsidiary. Now we need to determine what portion belongs here and what year. So we do that, basic mathematics. In this case, we're lucky it's 6/12 and 6/12. So in other words, it's 50%, 50%. Now we know, okay, this was the profit for that period, and that was the profit for that period, okay? Then we say, okay, but whoa, originally I owned 60% of your shares up until this point. In other words, 60% of the 15 will go in the retained earnings column and 40% in the NCI column. That's now 60 of that and 40 of that. Then we go one step further. We say, okay, but now it changed to 80%. So 80% of that and 20% of that, that's the non-controlling interest here. Okay, and that's my portion. Can you see these two amounts differ and these two amounts differ? And that's because of that change in shareholding, okay, from 60 to 80, and the NCIs from 40 to 20. Okay, and then we add up the totals. Then we say, okay, we know that portion, to me, the 60% and 80%, that's my total, the purple 21 and NCI 9150. And I added in the retained earnings column the profit, all right, for the current year. That is the subsidiary section. Then we need to include the parent section, and we need to eliminate the dividend or any other intercompany stuff. Okay, and I've already included in my calculation the NCI part. Okay, so the parent's profit is 35,000. I added there. The dividend, when was the dividend paid? The dividend was paid here. Okay, the dividend was paid at the point where I only had 60% of your shares. All right, you paid a dividend of 10,000 Rand, you as a subsidiary. And then I said, okay, but 10,000 multiplied by 60. Remember, that's what I received. If you declared 10,000 Rand of a dividend and I own 60% of your shares, that means 6,000 Rand is what I've received, and I've included it in my other income, and it's already included there because that profit is revenue plus other income, less cost of sales, blah, 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 blah. But can you see other income already included? So now I need to go and take it out. Why? Why do we eliminate these things again? Just to refresh your memory, because we now a group, okay? And us as a group did not receive this dividends. Remember, because you paid it, I received it. Zero effect, okay? So only if it's from a third party, it will be included there. Okay, and there I put it in. All right, then the NCI of that dividend, the same thing. You paid 10,000 dividend, but 40% of that belongs to someone else. That's the 4,000, and that's why you will have the 4,000 here. So please remember, I said that in the retained earnings column, the dividends paid, that's only the amount that the parent paid. This is now actually a stupid example now that I think of it, because there's a 10,000 and there's a 10,000. This is this 10,000. In other words, the dividend the parent paid. I'll go and change this next time. Okay? So just assume this was 15,000 for now. Then inside here, that will be 15,000. Okay? Does it make sense to you? I hope so. Only the parent's dividend paid. And then in the non-controlling interest income, it's only the dividend paid by the subsidiary, but the non-controlling interest percentage. In this case, we use the 40% because this dividend was paid when I still owned 60% at that point in time. Okay, now we come to change in ownership. I was talking a lot now while my mic went down. Luckily, we are now back at change in ownership. Now we say, okay, what was the balance of this non-controlling interest before the additional shares was purchased? Okay, and luckily we've already calculated this now. Remember, we've calculated this, okay, at the beginning of the year, because remember that acquisition only took place, what was it, I think in December, 31st December, yes, 31st December. So the NCI at 1 July, at the beginning of the year was this, We've calculated it there. All right. Then we need to add the profit for the year. But remember, only the NCI portion. But we've already done that as well. Okay. So there's the NCI up until acquisition. That that extra shares. Then this dividend, remember, was also before that extra acquisition. And the non-controlling interest of that was 4,000. So immediately before I purchased this additional shares, the NCI balance was 66,900. So now, remember, this 66,900 belongs to that other 40%. Okay, so that is equal to 40%. So if 40% of these shareholders, or 60,000 shares, is 66,900, that means the 30,000 that I extra purchased now, the value for that is 33,450. Let me say it differently. The total NCI of the 40% was that. Okay? That was for 60,000 shares. That was at that point, the 40% shares amounted to 60,000 shares. So if I divided the rand value by the shares, I get to this, and I purchased 30,000 extra shares. And then that gives me the rand value. Or I can say 66,000 was for the 40%. So 66, what I have, divided by what it consists of, the 40%, multiply by 20, it gives me that. Other way to say it, NCI was 40%. I bought 20 of the 40. That's exactly 50%. So 50% of the 66 is the 33. Okay? Now we know non-controlling interest was now at the beginning of the year, and then all the movements, and then remember we need to reduce it to that amount because me as a parent bought this now from the non-controlling interest. Okay, so what is this change in ownership? We said earlier it is the consideration given. So in other words, what did I pay for this extra shares and what was the value? We just calculated the value. We just need to go and check in the information given what was paid for it. And I showed you at the beginning in the trial balance, and I think it was 0.4 in the additional information, but we can go to it now. Yeah, there it is. It was 40,000 that I paid. So I paid 40,000 for this 33,450. So the change in ownership reserve is 6,550. Now take that to your statement of changes in equity, and there it is. Purchase of interest. Okay, there it is. So can you see, with change in ownership, this is actually the only, let's call it, things that you'll put in here. Okay, but I said to you, yes, I don't think we'll ask a lot of marks here, maybe just 5. So I don't even think we'll go into this much detail. Okay, so you can think for yourself of 5 marks, but it's not difficult. I showed to you. This is a journal. So typically if we ask a journal on this, maybe give you the amount to say to you, the non-controlling interest at acquisition was 33,450 that I've purchased, and I paid 40,000 for it. Please prepare the journal. And there's the journal. Debit non-controlling interest, debit change in ownership, and credit the investment in nuts. Okay? All right. Scenario 2. The rest of these ones, I'm just going to scroll through them and show a few things. You can go through the rest in your own time. I want to then get to a question as well where there's only certain things that I want to show you. Okay, so you can go and do this. Remember the timeline. Please always draw a timeline. See at what point the shares was purchased. So in other words, from what point in time was there a change? So from that day there was control, steps of the acquisition. You can read this in your own time. And then in a business combination achieved in stages. Remember, I first owned 5%, and then I add more shares or purchased more shares to go to 60%. That means I've done it in stages. So In a business combination achieved in stages, the acquirer, that's me, remeasured its previously held equity. That's now that 5%, okay, in the acquiree at its acquisition date at fair value and recognizes the resulting gain or loss in profit or loss or other comprehensive income. In other words, in this case, you will add that difference to the as a gain or loss in profit or loss. Okay, so in this case, it is now a business combination because I did not control you before. I bought the additional shares, so now you will have at that point in time to go and calculate goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. This is exactly the same as earlier, okay? The same as earlier, calculate goodwill. So let's go and do this, okay? You can read this in your own time. All right. The only thing that will be added here in this calculation of goodwill is the one that I circled in red. I just want to check something quickly in the chats. You can still hear me, am I right? Thank you so much. Okay. So you will, that's the only thing that you will add is fair value of the previously held interest. Okay, so that's the only thing when you go from a simple investment to a business combination where there's control. That's the only thing you'll add here in your calculation. Okay. All right. So there's the purchase price. It was purchased for 216, but you can go and do this in your own time. You can look through the slides to see how we calculate the number of shares and all of that. And there I say, Smiley has always measured its investment in phase at cost price in accordance with IAS 27, blah, blah, blah. On 1 March 2019, the fair value of the 15,000 shares that were bought on 1 January was 54,000. Okay? Just to go back quickly. So there was the, oh no, that's the additional share. Sorry, I just want to see where is that information now. Ah, sorry, there it is. Okay. So there, it was originally purchased 1 January for 40,000. You're not going to use that. You're going to use the fair value. Okay, because there we say fair value. And there in the information given is the fair value. Okay. One other thing that you need to see in this example, in the previous one we used the NCI at proportionate share. In this case it was at fair value when you calculate NCI. Okay, so NCI was calculated differently, and then this is that extra thing that I said, and that's the fair value of the shares originally purchased. And there you go, there's the 54,000. The rest stays the same. Sorry, not the same as the previous example because the amounts differ, same principle. So I'm not going to go through this. You can go and read in your own time. The only difference is the dates, obviously on my timeline, and the amounts differ. Okay? And there you go. In this case, again, it was more everything together, the consideration plus the NCI and fair value, less the fair value of identifiable assets. So it gives you an amount of 12,000 Rand goodwill. And now you can see, earlier we had the purchase of additional interest. In this case, we will call it acquisition of subsidiary. So I want you to see this. So in this example, that differs. Another thing that differs is the following. Will there be non-controlling interest at the beginning of the year? No. Why? Because at the beginning of the year, you were still a simple investment in my books. Okay, there was no non-controlling interest. Only from the date that I purchased those additional shares. In other words, inside the current financial year, there was NCI, and that's why You'll see on the next slides, you will have the NCI only here, but not there. Okay? There you go. And that's the NCI acquisition that we also had in that previous calculation. That one. All right. So profit for the year, exactly the same principle. You'll have your profit for the total year, the 189,000. But now you need to know, but it needs to be split between two periods, because in the first period, there was no non-controlling interest and it's not relevant. In this case, I only as a parent own 75%, and then there's non-controlling interest of 25%. Can you see here? 0. Why? Because it was a simple investment. I don't bring these things in my book, but these ones I will. Okay? Now, in my retained earnings column, I think in one of those paragraphs earlier we said that, I think. Okay, the fair value adjustment. Remember, it was purchased that original 15,000 shares for 40,000. The fair value adjustment from 54 to 40, it's an increase. Né? You take that into account in your retained earnings column, and you take the after-tax effect. Okay? All right, that is it on the examples. So this was just, I'm just going to show you again a few things. This was an exam question from 2020. Okay, 5 years back, exam question. And everybody thinks, okay, but because it's now an exam, we need to stress. I don't know why. Because if you understand the basics, you can do the exam question. Those questions that you do from tutorial letter 103 or the examples, some of them that I've showed in these classes are actually some of the stuff from old exam papers. So that I want to show, and the reason why we put it in is to show to you, it's not something different in the exam. Maybe we give the information a little bit different, or maybe we ask it somehow different, but it's the same principles. Okay. Question 2 of that one was the financial director requests you to complete the following information, blah, 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 on the proof of goodwill method in terms of IFRS 3.32. That was just an example. We give it to you like this, and we say, use this template, okay? And then some students went and they did not use that, and they calculate goodwill on their own way, all right? So please make sure when we give you an example of how to do it, to use the example. Okay. Part D, prepare only the non-controlling interest column, but I think I've said that in previous classes as well. Read properly. So it's only the non-controlling interest column. Why? Maybe in that exam, we've already tested some of the principles. There was not a lot of marks left, and we only asked for the NCI question. The second thing that I want you to realize here is, and that's why I'm saying, non-controlling interest, to understand that, to understand goodwill, to understand gain on bargain purchase, that's really important. To understand the difference of how do I treat a associate or joint venture versus a subsidiary, to understand that. To understand how to calculate the investment in associate. Because we can ask those calculations, and those are the things that counts a lot of marks. Okay, and then part E, prepare only the pro forma journals, blah, 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 of the 5,000 additional shares. But you'll see, we've already showed you an example earlier on how easy the journal is. So that's just another example of a journal that you can go and do in your own time. What I want you to see here is something different again. Ordinary dividends in this case was paid at 31st December. Remember in that other example we gave you, the dividends was paid earlier in the year. Okay, so this was paid at the end of the year. How do I know that? 31st December it was paid, and I tell you this is the TBs for 31st December. Something else, bank overdraft, please take note of that. Sometimes we throw that in a question, then you know in your statement of financial position, if not everything is in place in the companies that you can net it off, you are not allowed, and then this needs to be in the asset section and this needs to be in the liability section, as an example now. And in this case, again, as in the previous ones, we only give you the profit for the year. We didn't give the detail. Okay, additional information. Let me go one step back. In this question, we said on 1 July, L Limited acquired control over M by acquiring 70% of the shares, blah, blah, blah. On the acquisition date, the shares of Mardi had a listed market price of R3 each. So remember the R3 each. Maybe we're going to need it, maybe not. Remember, are we using NCI at fair value? Then we need it. At proportionate share, then we don't need it. And then on the acquisition date, the net assets of Mardi consisted out of the following. So in this one, we gave it differently to you. We tell you in this case, this is the net assets. All right. So remember what we said earlier. I hope at that point you were still hearing that net assets is also equal to equity. Okay, but so normally we just use the equity. In this case, the net assets was given to you. But can you see all the fair values agreed to the carrying amounts except for machinery? Then we know we need to make an adjustment for that. We also then need to know when we make that adjustment, we need to account for that depreciation over the remaining useful life. This is typically things where you can score a lot of good marks, a lot of easy marks. Okay? I'm just going to, one step here. Non-controlling interest is measured at fair value, and there's the fair value given. But remember, we could have said here non-controlling interest is measured at the proportionate share and still give this. Then you don't use it because you don't need it. So sometimes we can give information that you don't need, that you should not use. Okay? Then, okay, we've already talked about this one. You can go and do this calculation, most of it on your own time. What I want to show to you is this machinery. Remember, when there's a difference between the fair value and the carrying amount, you need, at acquisition, you need to take that revaluation into account as part of your calculation. So NCI is measured at fair value. In this case, how many shares were held? The total number of shares in your company was 100,000, the blue. I bought 70% of it, in other words, 70,000. That means 30,000, the remaining, belongs to the non-controlling shareholder. And I'll take that 30,000 and multiply it by the R3 given. So now I know my fair value of non-controlling interest is 90,000 Rand. Then, fair value of net of the assets, this 240,000 was now given. Let me just go back. It was given to you. Okay? So this is the carrying amount of your assets at that point. We can't just go and use this amount because there's tax and stuff that's not yet calculated here. So we take the carrying amount and we then say, okay, but was there anything that need to be adjusted? Yes, there was a revaluation on machinery. So there's my revaluation, 32,000 that I will add. But then I said in the previous classes, always remember tax. And this is a depreciable asset, so you'll take the normal tax rate. Okay, in the new exams, it will be 27%. And you adjust it with tax. Okay, and then you get your new net asset value. I'm not sure if this thing, yeah, it will work. Just take note that I don't see the negative here, but if you look at the end answer, it's 240 plus 32, it's 272,000 less the 8,000, because the sign of the tax and the revaluation can't be the same. The signs will always be opposite. For some reason, I just didn't put the sign or the brackets in here, but you can see in the end answer, it was deducted. Right? So I said to you in this question, remember the net assets were given and not the share capital and retained earnings. Remember, share capital and retained earnings is equity, and equity is also the same as net assets or equal to net assets. And sometimes there can be other items in equity as well. Don't think you have to stress too much about it now, because normally we give you share capital and retained earnings. Okay. So there's the 263,040. In this case, again, it was goodwill. Then prepare only the non-controlling interest. Okay, just want to show you a few things here. So remember, in this case, the non-controlling interest, there was only non-controlling interest from this point in time. Okay. So non-controlling interest balance at the beginning, nothing. Okay. NCI at acquisition is 90,000. We've already calculated that at the beginning, that 30,000 shares multiplied by the 3 Rand a share. Okay, remember we've calculated that. So we use that 90,000. We say the movement in retained earnings since acquisition to the beginning of the current year. Okay, so we'll go and do that. And what is that? I already said here, equity equals your net assets. So it's your, oh, now I remember why I brought this one in here. So we know this is your total net assets. And we know net assets is equal to equity. But in this question, only the share capital were given, okay, at acquisition, but not the retained earnings at acquisition. But then if I know my total net asset value is 240, which is that at acquisition, and I know my share capital given is 200, obviously the difference is then my retained earnings at acquisition. Okay? And this is my retained earnings on 1 January, in other words, at the beginning of the current year. So from the beginning of the current year, from the date of acquisition to the beginning of the current year, that difference at the NCI rate, because I purchased 70% of your shares, 30% belongs to the non-controlling shareholders. Okay? And then you need to remember there was this adjustment of machinery, but you need to take into account the accumulated depreciation of that, because that happened long time ago on 1 July 2015. Okay? Was that acquisition. So that acquisition was at 1 July 2015. And then from there up until the beginning of the current year, there was 2.5 years. So that's the 2.5 years. We set the remaining useful life at that point were 4 years. So 23,040, the amount that the machinery was adjusted with. Okay. That was the adjustment. Divided by 4 years gives you your 14,400. Sorry, divided by 4, multiplied by 2.5. That's now the total depreciation after tax. Okay? So we take already the after tax amount. You could have used the 32,000 as well, divided by 4, multiplied by 2.5, and then get to a pre-tax figure. But now we already took the after tax figure, multiply by the NCI rate. Okay? And we adjust that. So there is my NCI. I made a mistake earlier when I said nothing should be here. I was thinking about the previous example. Sorry, this is now the next question where this shares was purchased, the original shares was purchased in 2015. So obviously then there should be something here. Let me just go back to show you there. On 1 July 2050, Lundi acquired 70% of the share. That's long time ago. That's why there is a figure there. Then you take the current year total that you'll bring in here, and then the purchase of the interest will also have an effect there. Okay? That was where this timeline is coming in, because remember, it changed from 70% to 75% because I've purchased additional shares. But that's the same principle as the example that I did before the exam question. You'll just go and apply this information, same principle. Again, the profit was given. You split the profit again between the period before acquisition of the additional shares and afterwards. Okay. but that's the profit. You first go and adjust the depreciation for the current year. You can go and look that calculation in your own time. There it is. Okay. You get the adjusted profit, and that adjusted profit you also split between these two periods, before the additional shares and after the additional shares, because the NCI and the parent, well, we're just working with NCI in this specific question. The NCI in this period differ with the NCI in that period, because I had 70%, US NCI had 30, so that's relevant, the yellow, to this portion. The purple, I then purchased additional shares, so that's why the NCI percentage on this specific point is more. So my total NCI based on the profit for the year is this 119. It's the 23 plus the 96, and I'll add that here. Now the purchase of additional interest. Remember we did that also in some of the examples earlier. We'll come to that one now. And then remember the dividend paid in the non-controlling interest is only the subsidiary's dividend, only the non-controlling interest percentage of that. We need to determine which percentage. Will it now be the 20 or the 25, depending on when the dividends was paid? And I think I showed that to you early. It was paid at the end of the year. Okay? It was paid at the end of the year. At the end of the year, the NCI percentage was 25, which is 100% less than 75 that I own. So there's the dividends paid. Now, what is this purchase of interest? That was now exactly what we said. What is the NCI balance at the date when I purchase it? You go and calculate that the same as the previous example. You get to the NCI balance. You said, what did I pay for it? Okay. So first, sorry, your portion is the 21,132. Same example as earlier. And then you take that out. Sorry, I was talking about the purchase again now. That's the change in ownership column. We're just looking at the non-controlling interest column here that was required. And that is the portion non-controlling interest that was given away, or not given away, that was purchased by me. Okay? So you do the calculation the same as in the example, and then you take it out here. Because it's now going to me. It's no longer part of this non-controlling interest portion, balance. Question 2 was prepare the pro forma journal entries. This is now where you will need that amount paid. And the purchase of interest, that one we already know. In non-controlling interest, we've already calculated in the previous section of the question. And what did I pay for it? The total investment is 225. That's now an example, and I gave it to you earlier. But originally, when I purchased the original shares, I paid 200,000 for it. In other words, the difference between my total investment at the moment and what I purchased originally is obviously what I've paid now for this additional shares. Okay, 225 less 200. In other words, what my total investment in my trial balance is now, less the amount paid originally, okay, for the initial shares, and that's my consideration. And the difference between the consideration and the non-controlling interest given up or purchased by me, that is the change in ownership reserve. Ladies and gentlemen, and that is how easy it can get. So thank you for joining this session tonight. I do apologize again for the sound that went missing for a while. So if you go through that section of the slides and there's anything that you don't understand, you're more than welcome to email me to the course email address. And I really hope not just the change in ownership principles, but all the others that I've talked about during this discussion make sense to you and it will help you. All of the best with your studies further, and I'll see you in the next class. Please look out for the announcements when there will be a next class, and please go and study hard now. We're getting close to the exam, and it's now the time to do questions. Thank you so much, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.